this was an experience that happened to me when I was 17, when I was at home, when I heard a knock on the door. And I was making a dress for Shirdi Sai Baba. And I was cutting an orange color dress. And my mother was talking on the phone, the doorbell rang, and I opened the door and Swami was standing outside, Satya Sai Baba. He said, not orange, I always wore white. And that's that during that time it really increased a lot. Everywhere I would look outside the window, I used to be watching TV and I could hear, and I'd look at Swami and say, come to me, come to Puttaparthi, come. And I used to think, oh my God. And I used to ask my brother, what do you see outside this window? He said, nothing. What do you mean, what do you see outside? There's nothing outside this window. I say, do you see Swami? Do you see Satya Sai Baba? He said, no. I used to not call him Swami. I used to call him Satya Sai Baba at that time. I said, no, I don't see Satya Sai Baba. So these experiences grew so much, I used to write to my mom. I say, you know, I don't know who this man is, but he's bothering me. The last 2 years, he's not left me. I used to see him, I was a lab tech, I used to be working on my experiments, and I would see him in front of me.
In the form?
He would just appear in front of me and say, I have come to save you, come.
You weren't daydreaming, this was...
No, I would, in fact, I would not want to think. He was not somebody I worshipped or was devoted to in any way. It's been such a blessed experience for me, this entire thing, of knowing God, not through a temple or through any kind of education or through any kind of other teaching, but knowing God through your own self, I think.
And why did you feel comfortable saying yes to the request to record your story today?
Swami asked me to. Swami said, this is a very important task. I have asked him to do it. Please pick up the phone and to say yes to him.
Holy man Sri Satya Sai Baba now is the total focus of Seema Dewan's life. Seema is the author of Sai Darshan, Living in the Presence of God, and other books. This is part one of a series of 12-plus interviews Sai Baba instructed her to give to Sojourns. Welcome to Sojourns. This interview was recorded in Canton, Ohio in 2002.
I realized as a little kid, I was different in the sense I loved being in the presence of God, being in the presence of goodness. It could be a church, it could be a mosque, it could be a temple. I was drawn. I had spiritual experiences when I was 5 and 6. I would weep and cry when I would enter feeling the silence. Anything that had inner silence made me feel that. So I think I knew Swami right from birth, if you say. But how this form came to me was at the age of 9. And that was the time my mother was suffering from an ailment. She was very young actually at that time. She was 35 and my dad had just gone through a heart attack. She started getting anxiety attacks, severe anxiety attacks. And one of my aunts who was visiting Swami during that time came and gave her a pendant of Swami. And the next thing you know, my mother put the pendant on and her anxiety attacks significantly decreased. They didn't go, but they were decreased. And at that time he was visiting Bombay 2 or 3 months later. So she went with my dad to see him and got this photograph of him, which is in the Sai Darshan cover book, that's why I put that in the book. And I remember seeing it the first time, and she put it up on the wall. I said, who is this man? He's got a very handsome face, but very funny hair. You know? And she told me he's God. And at that time, I was already introduced to Shirdi Baba. And when she told me that he's the reincarnation of Shirdi Baba, I did not believe it because I was too small at that time, and I thought there's no resemblance of face or features. But that was my first initial seeing of Swami. I started seeing Swami as a little kid, visiting him whenever he came to Bombay. I would go to visit him. And the first experience I had when I visited him in Dharmakshetra was, I remember we had to get up at this ungodly hour, 4 o'clock. I was very angry, tired. They made me take a shower early in the morning and go. And as soon as we entered in, bhajans were going on. And particular bhajan, Vittala Hari Vittala, Panduranga Vittala Hari Narayan, that bhajan was going on. And I was 9 years old and I stood outside and wept. I don't know what it was, my hair, I was feeling the vibrations. He wasn't even come, he had not even come down for darshan that time. And I saw him as a little dot, right from from the back. There's a crowd of 30 to 40,000 people. I felt intense love, and the way of singing of the bhajans and the purity I was feeling. I don't know. I just knew I had come to the right place. I didn't know whether he was my guru at that time or whatever, but I just knew. I felt extreme love. That's what I felt, and that was my first experience with Swami.
You were 9.
I was 9 years old.
And
did your family live in Bombay?
Yeah.
Over the next 10, 15, 20 years, how did your feelings about Baba grow?
Oh, there was a lot of mixed feelings. I would go to see him in Dharmakshetra, and at that time, Swami would drive in a Mercedes. He would live in a beautiful lotus bungalow, and you're living in a city of Bombay where you're seeing so much poverty. Unlike Shirdi Baba that lived another way, when I was 12 and 13, I was seeing this guru living in the most magnificent way possible among the riches, calling these rich people, who drove up in Mercedes and stuff to his bungalow, and here there were these poor people just sitting, and I, in my ignorance, made many wrong presumptions about God. And so my faith, I had faith in God, but I didn't know whether I had faith of Swami as God. I went there at that time primarily because my mom asked me to go, but every time I would go and see him, I would feel instant love for him. But I denied inside. I said, no. When I start rationalizing it, I see this guy going in a Mercedes and going and living in this huge bungalow. I just didn't think it was fair. It would anger me. So I was in a period of rebellion, probably till age 16.
Okay.
And age 16 then was a turnaround back when I started getting visions and dreams. A lot of visions and dreams. I would be able to see Swami, not thinking about it. I remember I used to be studying for my schooling, and I could see him say, "Come." And as I'm not thinking of him, I'm not imagining him, but it was very distinct, a presence. Constant presence and a lot of dreams of him.
Did these alarm you initially?
No, I loved the form, but I was very angry with the way he lived. And that was my only thing, because I had never seen Puttaparthi. All I could see was when he came to Bombay.
Did you know to talk to him in your prayer life about these concerns?
No, I used to pray to Shirdi Baba. I used to not even look at his picture at that time. I used to tell my mom, don't put his picture in my room. I'm very happy, just put Shirdi form picture, because he's kind and he lived with the poor.
So how did you get beyond these concerns, these obstacles?
This came actually after my visit to the United States. I left there when I was 20. I finished my bachelor's in science and came here to pick up my green card actually. And I liked it so much that I took a job here and started working. And at that time my brother was a student doing dentistry. He was doing his master's in dentistry, and we lived together at that time, my brother and me. And like I said, during that time it really increased a lot. Everywhere I would look outside the window, I used to be watching TV and I could hear, and I'd look at Swami and say, "Come to me, come to Puttaparthi, come." And I used to think, oh my God. And I used to ask my brother, "What do you see outside this window?" He said, "Nothing." "What do you mean, what do you see outside? There's nothing outside this window." I say, "Do you see Swami? Do you see Satya Sai Baba?" He said, "No." I used to not call him Swami. I used to call him Satya Sai Baba at that time. I said, "No, I don't see Satya Sai Baba." So these experiences grew so much, I used to write to my mom. I say, I don't know who this man is, but he's bothering me. The last 2 years, he's not left me. I used to see him. I was a lab tech. I used to be working on my experiments, and I would see him in front of me.
In the form?
He would just appear in front of me and say, "I have come to save you. Come."
You weren't daydreaming. This was real.
No. I would not want to think. He was not somebody I worshipped or was devoted to in any way. I knew my mother was devoted to him, but
Did you tell people around you in your workstation?
No. I didn't think of it. I just told my sister, though. I did tell my sister, because he would go, when I went to visit her, he would go around her house saying, "This is my house."